Aloha and welcome everyone to the Retoro community. We are here to just share a little bit with you guys how much giving back means to us, some year end generosity that you could be doing, and then give you some financial wisdom of some tax savings you could take advantage of while also giving back. So, the theme of this webinar is giving smart, saving big. And we're going to give you some pointers and some tips on some year end tax strategies that can actually help multiply the impact that you make. So, giving while getting some write offs as well. So, this webinar matters right now because we're in December. So, you only have a couple more weeks left in the year to take advantage of some of these tax deductions. So with that, we'll let everybody introduce themselves. We'll start with Chris.
Oh, I thought we were going to start with you, but Mele Kalikimaka and Merry Christmas. Happy holidays to everyone out there listening. If you guys are out there listening, thank you for joining us on this busy season, so close to Christmas. We're, 7 days away now? Right around the corner. So thank you guys. Again, excited. Thank you, group, for being here. My name is Chris Borden, CEO of Retoro Capital Investments. And again, like Zasha said, we are here to just hopefully partake some nuggets that you guys can take with you just through the tax side of things. And then hopefully maybe get some inspiration on impact, like creating a larger impact for yourself, for your family, that can last for generations above and beyond just the financial side of things. So thank you, Zasha, for having us and putting this together.
Next, his wife, Harmony.
Hello, good evening, everyone. Thank you guys for joining us. I am Harmony Borden. I am here with the business relations side. I just love talking to people and helping others as much as we can, wherever we can. And I think that's the biggest for me, seeing where I can help give value in your day. And I think that's what we all bring to the table here at Retoro. We like being able to help others with opportunities, whatever that may look like. So I'm excited to get through tonight because this is something that I'm really big on, the philanthropy side of things. And for some, it can be boring. So hopefully we won't lose you in it.
Next, Emma.
Thanks for coming, everybody. It's that time of year where everything's starting to slow down, but as the year ends, it's like we have to figure out our tax position before December 31st, and everything is slow. And so I'm gonna have some tips about what we're doing at the end of this year season on how we're saving money on our own taxes, which is really important because we want to have that money available so that we can have more impact on the business and on our philanthropy. And these tax savings are awarded for a reason, so we go and do those kinds of things with them. And so I'm the director of content here at Retoro Capital. Basically, you'll see Zasha and me a lot, and Chris and Harmony on social media, and just being able to talk to you and get to you in your language where you like to hang out, on the platforms where you like to be, so that we can share education and hopefully find some investor partners along the way. That's one of the ways that we give back. There are lots of ways to do it. Could be for profit, could be nonprofit, donating time, donating money. There are all sorts of different ways this can look. And so our content really centers around our mission of getting you higher returns, helping you to reduce risk, and also figuring out how you can give back more. So that's my role here at Retoro, and it's so nice that we have a large partnership because I feel like we can all niche into where we perform best. And that's where, like Harmony was saying, where she likes to be, this is exactly where I like to be, is on the education side of things.
Awesome. Thank you. Troy?
Hello, everybody. I'm Troy. I do a lot of the back end side of things and make sure everybody's secure that is investing in our company. So Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Well, thank you guys. These are we're all partners in this business, and my name is Zasha Smith. I live here on Maui in Hawaii. I'm in charge of most of the marketing, making sure that you guys get the information, that we're giving you value. And most of all, I think this is a great topic to bring up because a lot of us, of course, throughout the year have our business goals, personal goals, but also giving back really matters to us as a team as a whole. So I feel like on this journey of building wealth, it's important to look back and see how you can not only with monetarily wise give back, but also give back your time. So I hope you guys get value out of today. We're going to get started with Chris Borden. He's going to talk about how the wealthy give and save. Chris?
Again, we are missing one of our other partners, so I just want to throw that out. She unfortunately couldn't be here, but Lisa Moore, one of our other partners, she's helping her niece, I believe, get married. So, but again, thanks everybody. My internet is not the greatest, so if I cut out, I apologize. Troy said he'll take over, but when we look at it, so we're gonna kind of talk more strategy. So when I look at it, so when most people think about charitable giving, Emma just said it, right? It's emotional, it's reactive. They give when something moves them or at the end of the year, right? There's like, there's something at the end of the year. Okay, Zasha said it too. I have 2 years left. Where's my money going to go? I think from a standpoint, more of myself, like again, once you start like getting to different phases, and in previous webinars, I've talked about different phases of your wealth journey. Pretty much when you get to the fourth or fifth stage, more so on the fifth stage, you're looking at it from more of an impact. So the approach changes and how you look at it. It's more of a strategy. It is generosity, but it's generosity that's intentional. So when we're looking at it, it's planned right alongside of the income that I anticipate to get, the potential assets that I'm looking at selling, and more of a long-term wealth strategy. So the goal is not to just give more. The goal is to sort of give in a smarter way that preserves the capital and expands long-term impact. Again, when you get through, there's those stages. When you're at the bottom, it's more of like what impact and what legacy can I leave behind? So the strategy and the foundational, the frame of mind sort of changes as you're looking at that. And that's why the wealthy don't ask. So at the end of the year, or even sometimes, again, it's a lot of times giving is tied to an emotional trigger, which is not necessarily, there's nothing right or wrong about it, but it's typically tied to an emotional trigger. And you start asking yourselves, what can I afford to give? The honesty at the opposite side of it, it's more of, again, you're not asking that question. Again, typically someone is looking at it from a different lens and a different perspective. What they're typically going to ask is, how do I give in a way that multiplies and intensifies my impact and my own wealth journey efficiency? So yeah, again, just kind of looking at it from a different lens. And so let's kind of think, so why is the thought process different? And I think the difference starts with how income shows up. So investors' income is rarely smooth. I think we all know that. But again, it depends on how you're investing, but it's rarely smooth. Capital comes in and it spikes. Maybe you exit a property, right? And now you have some huge capital gains, or refinances. Maybe not necessarily the same thing as capital gains, but that could be it. Or some type of exit. You exit the event, or some kind of profit event occurs. So tax are driven by moments, not necessarily by paychecks. So again, on the investment side of things, it's looked at and is looked at differently. So planning becomes more of an impact. And what that means is that decisions made in 1 year can definitely affect tax outcomes for several years after the fact. And the higher the income levels, charitable giving is no longer a side decision. It should more become part of your tax planning, tax strategy itself. So again, when generosity is poorly timed, it kind of quietly erodes at the wealth. So when we're looking at it from the preservation of capital, you can definitely increase the total giving capacity over time. And again, it's looking back at how can I impact that overall wealth. So again, this leads into the idea of tax efficient generosity. Let's just call it that, tax efficient generosity. And it simply aligns like charitable intent with tax strategy. That's more of what we're talking about. We're combining the two. We all have a philanthropic outlook, and we do a lot of things in the philanthropy world. I was just thinking, I think I've been donating. One of my favorite causes, I have it right here. So I have my little pin. I think I've been donating to St. Jude's for every month for the last 12 years, maybe 15 years. I'd have to go back and look, but I've been doing it for a really long time. And we all have our components of how we look at the philanthropy world, and how we look at how can I make my wealth give the biggest and largest impact that I possibly can. So it allows investors to like redirect the dollars that would have gone to taxes towards causes that they really care about, which again is really important, right? Instead of letting Uncle Sam dictate where our money is going to go, we can then get in the driver's seat and figure out exactly what causes are near and dear to my heart, and what causes do I feel that aligns with my views on the world and my goals, and then I can navigate towards that. So again, it's definitely not about eliminating taxes, which would definitely be great, but this is not what it's about. It's about choosing where your capital ultimately goes. And again, when done correctly, tax efficient giving allows investors to support meaningful causes without sacrificing growth or flexibility. It's basically, again, you're taking control of what is important to you, and you're steering your money and the potential money that would have gone towards taxes to things that, again, like I said, align with who you are and what you want to do. So I guess key tools, let me take a pause there, but key tools that sophisticated investors would typically use. So let me kind of just briefly touch on some of the core tools. I think first is just overall charitable giving and charitable deductions. All right, you can use cash donations, can be deducted up to a percentage of adjusted gross income. And if memory serves me correctly, it's 60%, I believe. But go consult a tax professional, so they can definitely guide you and direct you more. But more importantly, appreciating assets such as securities or real estate can often be donated without triggering capital gains, which is huge. Again, you being in a driver's seat of exactly what you want to do. That allows an investor to deduct the full value while avoiding taxes on appreciation. And in many cases, giving appreciated assets is far more powerful than just giving cash. So again, there's different nuances and ways to look at it. I think secondly, a second tool in the investor's toolbox is donor advised funds, or sometimes referred to as DAF. The powerful thing about a DAF is that it allows you to take, so say hypothetically, I am exiting from an asset. So again, I'm on level 5 of my wealth building journey. I have assets that are going to exit. I know that the assets are going to exit, but let's just say hypothetically, I am tossed between what charitable donations I give it to and the time frame in which I want to give those donations. This is where a perfect that DAF will come into play for you, because it allows you to take the charitable deduction in the year that I sold that asset, right? Again, a high income year that I sold the asset, and then it allows me to actually figure out exactly what I want to give, when I want to give, and you can do that over time. So assets inside the DAF can often remain invested and grow tax-free, increasing future impact, but it allows you to deduct from the tax implications you would have had in the year of, again, exiting. Let's just say you exit a high venture capital deal and you have 3-4 times multiple, and instead of using depreciation, if you can or can't, again, there's a bunch of strategies. You can use this, reduce your tax liability for that year, and then be able to use it over previous years. Keeping it invested, which is super important, magnifying the impact. And it magnifies the impact. And again, once you get to various levels in your investment journey, it's less about money and more about the impact that I can leave behind. What legacy am I going to leave behind for my kids, my grandkids, and the world in general? So again, super powerful tools that you can use. Definitely gives you flexibility, simplicity, and just long-term alignment between wealth strategies and overall generosity. So the importance of timing. Timing is where everything comes together. Like I said, high income years are the most valuable years to give, because again, you're reducing that tax burden that you typically have, and you're taking control of it. That often means years with business exits, large capital gains, profit distributions, or like some large liquidity event. And for this, I think a simple rule to remember is $1 given in a peak income year is often worth more than the same dollar given later. Again, it's just the velocity of money. It works in the same general context of that. I'm keeping some of this money now, right? I don't have the tax burden, so that I can magnify it and get it invested today for later use. Super, super powerful tools. So to make this practical, consider 3 quick examples. One investor sells an asset, realizes a large gain by contributing those appreciated assets into a donor-advised funds before the year end. They reduce taxable income and avoid capital gains. Another investor, a different investor, expects income volatility. They front load charitable giving during peak years, creating kind of that consistent impact and smoother tax outcomes. And then a third investor wants to give intentionally without constantly check writing. The DAF allows giving to become structured, repeatable, and more value driven. So super important. Super important. All of these strategies you can use. Again, the goal is to magnify the impact of whatever is important to you. Again, it's looking at that aspect of it. What do I feel is gonna have the largest impact to the world? How do I make the world today better than it was yesterday? And again, by having these strategies, you can definitely magnify the impact that you can have. So everything that we've just discussed so far is more just strategies. Like the tools, they do matter, but they're not the reason people give, right? Strategy answers how and when. Purpose more answers why. And that's where my wife is going to come in. So she's going to talk more about what generosity looks like when it moves more beyond numbers and more into the lives that you can impact.
Thank you. Yes. Let's see. Where are we? Actually, this time of year, right? Chris talked about it. This is when it kind of reminds us, like all year round, you have good intentions and you want to go and do something, but like time catches up to you. You get busy, and maybe you did some spring cleaning and you did something. You're like, oh, I wanted to go do more. And I have had people tell me, I wish I donated and I was giving back to more of with intent for a cause. And because they kind of just do it here and there, you're walking in and out of the stores, and the holidays tend to soften people and remind you. But I think one of the biggest is, if you realize, and this is something you really want to do, it starts with consistency. If you're someone who has a high income, yes, you want to offset your income and you can help by giving higher donations. But if you're someone who's like, I want to give back and I want to have intention, there's, again, either way you're looking at it, it's consistency is what's going to build it for you. So if you're going through and saying, okay, I'm going to write a big check at this big event, or I went to it's a big moment. That's when people feel like the stress, it's like a dramatic thing where I'm giving back because it's something that was in front of you for whatever reason. And it doesn't have to be that. I think if you're building, and you want to make an impact, it doesn't have to come from the moment. It comes from a habit. And like I said, building that consistency, just like investing, you don't want to wait until December comes around and you want to put your money where you're thinking, oh my gosh, I need to put it here, and you're doing your tax planning and things like that. You want to, we always say, assign your dollars. So giving doesn't have to be any different than investing. You want to account for it. And if you've always had a cause that is really driven you, then that's the place that talks to you. You know, you want to be able to go, and it doesn't have to be flashy. It just has to be intentional. And I think that's a big part of what people miss. When I talk to others, they say, I wish I had more time to give back. We don't always have the time to give. And if you're looking at it, if it's a small portion that every paycheck or every month you're giving, and it builds consistency, then at the end of the year, it doesn't feel like, oh, I didn't give back this year. Oh, I wish I would have done more this year. You've done, and you are consistent about it. You feel relief about it too. If you're one of those people, like I know I am, it's a relief. There's certain things that I used to do regularly that I don't do as regular anymore because I do different things now. But it's the consistency that helps me feel like, oh, shoot, I didn't do this. I don't worry about it as much anymore. Like there's certain activities, my kids are grown. We used to do them when they were younger, certain activities. And, you know, I kind of miss those moments because it was also building with my kids memories, but now our habits are different. So starting with a small percentage of your cash flow, or one deal a year, and you attach a purpose to it, and just supporting people, not just the cause, or if you find a cause that you want, go and put it towards that specific foundation. But it doesn't have to be that you have to go and find a specific foundation. You just want to give it intent, whatever your intent is and whatever feels good for you, as long as it becomes consistent. For our family, it looks different these days from when our kids were younger. It's, you know, sometimes it was before is giving our time and doing all these different things that we could do in the community. And I loved that part of it, but not everybody has that luxury of being able to go and be a part of their community the way they would like. So if there's something in your community that you can contribute towards just a little bit every month, I think that makes a huge impact. Just starting small and having purpose and consistency is where a lot of you are going to feel a lot of the relief if it does tend to affect you and think about it. I know this is like the boring stuff of talking about giving back, and it's like, oh yeah, we know we have to. And this is the time of year you're seeing a lot of the Hallmark shows, and you're walking in and out of the doors of the stores, and you're having somebody ringing the bell, and it kind of reminds you even more. I think it just won't feel as rushed, and you'll feel more accomplished if you find a cause or anything that the people you want to give back to or the cause you want to give back to, and you just build it with consistency. Just a little bit every paycheck or every month is going to make a huge difference, so that you're building that community. And, you know, you've seen Chris over there with his little magnet. He gets things back in the mail often, and he enjoys those. Those are the things that light him up when he sees, okay, I'm giving back to this. And it's a reminder of the good that he's been doing without really having to do anything, right? He doesn't have to even leave his chair for that. But that little reminder is something that he holds close to him. So I think that's something that a lot of us kind of forget about in our day-to-day. Find that cause and find that little way that you can give back. And I know it's not as fun and sexy as tax talk that Emma's going to be going on to next here, but it's definitely where you can be generous, you can structure it, and it doesn't have to make you feel like you're limited. You can definitely find a cause that little bit at a time. And Emma's going to go over and show you how real estate allows you to reduce your taxes, and it'll increase your impact without burning yourself out.
Okay, so I get to do the tactics and strategies portion. This is where you might want to write things down, consider how this affects your own situation. I'm going to share some personal stories from us. I am by no means a tax professional. I'm not even a tax expert. I just know some of the things that we've done in our own lives that have worked for us and various tax strategies. So that I'm just going to share some stories, and hopefully you can see some examples of ways that you can maybe incorporate some of these. One thing I was really frustrated about when I first got into investing and started learning about taxes is some of it was so detailed and so complicated that I felt like, wait, what? I had no idea how to implement any of it because I don't even do my own taxes. We have a tax professional for that. So this is the first thing you're going to do is get a tax professional who specializes in the type of investing that you are doing. I'll give you one example. The first thing, depreciation, huge for any business owner, but especially for real estate investors, because it's one of the only assets you can depreciate that's in the real world is going up in value, because the land is going up in value while the structure itself is going down in value. So that structure is going to need a new roof someday, some maintenance. And so the tax structure is saying, hey, we need you to be able to keep this building up. So they want to be able to make sure that especially commercial or rental buildings are being maintained. But all of that time that you're putting money back into the building, the land is going up in value. So we had a tax expert when we first started getting into this. It was recommended to us by our attorney who we met at a real estate investing event. And I called the CPA and I said, hey, we need to do a tax planning meeting. And he said, oh, yeah, save money on taxes, just buy yourself a new truck. And I said, what? And he said, yeah, it's so that you can have depreciation. I said, I have rental houses. I don't need a new truck. I don't need depreciation. I have a lot of depreciation already. We just wanted to make sure with capital gains and moving things around. And he was just like, oh, well, And it was just the weirdest tax conversation I've ever had. And so I went home and I told my husband, I said, we need to find a new tax guy. He told me to buy a new truck without even listening to a word that I said, or it's like he doesn't even remember even doing our taxes last year because he doesn't even know that I'm a real estate professional and is giving me some pretty bad advice. And so we went and found somebody else who specialized with other real estate investors and really understood the space. And so if there are things that you're investing in that your accountant doesn't know anything about, then it might be time to start shopping around. You need to make sure that your professionals align with your portfolio, your strategy, and your goals. Otherwise, they're just going to be giving you generic advice or advice that they don't understand or they don't know about, and they're not going to be able to take advantage of all of the tax savings that are built into the code to incentivize certain behaviors. So it's also important to remember, because I think there is some misunderstanding sometimes about saving taxes is often seen as something that we shouldn't be trying to do. But where we're saving on income and capital gains taxes, that's to encourage us to purchase properties, to start businesses so that we're paying those taxes, like lots of payroll taxes, lots of sales taxes, and lots of, the unemployment and Social Security is going in. Like we're paying so much in property taxes. And so it's an effort to kind of divert some of the taxes that we're going to be paying on this side so that we go and stimulate industry and business on this other side. So I think that paying more taxes in your business is the goal here. And to incentivize that, we're paying less taxes on our personal returns. So it's important to remember that we're not talking about not paying taxes or not paying our fair share. It's about making sure that the activities that we're doing are the things that the government is promoting and trying to incentivize. So I think that some people sometimes feel bad that they want to try and save taxes and wonder if they should be doing more. So that rest assured, you will be paying a lot of taxes if you get into real estate or running your own business. So depreciation, that's the major tool that we as real estate investors are using, and a big one for business owners if you have equipment like a truck that you're going to depreciate. And that basically just means that the thing is going to go down in value and you're going to get a tax break so that you can afford to keep up, repair, replace those types of things that are going to need fixing. And so I mentioned that I'm a real estate professional, meaning I spend at least 750 hours per year, and it's at least 50+% of my working time is spent in a real estate business. And that means that I can take depreciation against my active income and against my filing jointly. So my husband's active income. There are very few things that you can use depreciation or to offset active income, like W-2 income, income that you're making through like interest, dividends, things that there are certain things that are considered passive and certain things that are considered active. And I think sometimes a lot of people hear depreciation and they think that it's going to offset their W-2 income, but it's really not. So one of the partners needs to be a real estate professional, or there are some tangible and intangible drilling costs that can offset active income. And then there's that little short-term rental thing, because that real estate that you own is actually a business. It's classified more like a hotel than it is like a rental house. So it's not passive income. So then you can deduct some of those expenses from your active income. So those are the 3 strategies I know of to actually be able to use either business losses or depreciation to offset your active income. And it's important to understand going into that as a passive investor. If you have a W-2, you're not a real estate professional, you don't have oil and gas investments, or you're not running a short-term rental, there's very little that you can do to offset your active income. So offsetting taxes becomes more of a thing that you're going to do in retirement, using retirement accounts and those types of assets. And so you're going to want to work with your tax professional and make sure that you're planning appropriately, but it's always not about saving taxes this year. Sometimes it's about saving taxes down the road in retirement. So for us, it is about saving taxes this year. Because I'm a real estate professional, we have unlimited amount of depreciation that we can apply to take off our active income. So our AGI, our adjusted gross income, the last couple of years has been zero. So this means basically that we have so much depreciation from properties that we own. And if we can't use it all in a certain calendar year, it carries forward indefinitely. So it means we can never get a mortgage, again, a personal mortgage. But it also means that we really don't pay capital gains or federal income taxes or state income taxes. And because that real estate professional allows, like I said, unlimited depreciation against our active income. So this will apply to any business owner, something couple hundred, maybe 400 plus deductions that a business owner can take. Again, it makes it really difficult to get a mortgage because if your adjusted gross income goes very low. So you have to think about when you're using these kinds of strategies to severely offset your adjusted gross income, that you make sure that you have your personal mortgages taken care of. Buy the dream home first before you start doing this other stuff. One way that we get depreciation and kind of bump up the effectiveness of that is through something called cost segregation. Cost segregation has been around for decades, but it started getting a lot of attention when bonus depreciation became a thing about 8 years ago. And so bonus depreciation just means that you can take 100% of the depreciation in year 1 versus amortizing it over each year. So a straight line depreciation, you take a little bit every year, an equal amount every year, and things depreciate on different schedules. So underground depreciates on like a 15-year schedule. Most other things are like a 27.5 year. I don't know what it is. I can't keep up, but something like that. But there are a lot of things that you have that are not taking 15 years or 27.5 years to depreciate. Like we replace carpet in our rental houses every 2 to 3 years. I mean, every couple of tenants, especially in apartments, they get replaced a lot more often. And so that carpet effective lifespan could be 2 years or 3 years. You have some things that are going to last 50 years, but you have a lot of things that are going to last 5, like hard flooring, blinds, like there are all sorts of things that are going to reach the end of their useful life before that 27.5 years. And so basically what you can do is have a cost segregation engineer, analyst come in, look at the property, tally everything up, give everything in there a certain useful life. If it's near the end of its useful life, then it will be right there. If it's older or new stuff, like how long that will last. And they'll say, okay, yeah, you can accelerate, you can take all of this depreciation on a shorter schedule. And then the bonus depreciation means that you can take a certain percentage of that, whether it's 100% or 80%. It changes each year. We just got 100% back this year. But basically, you can take that in year 1. And that's a huge ability for investors to use. And you're going to make an investment, and the income you're making off of that is passive. So rental income specifically is considered by the IRS to be passive, even though I don't think it's very passive. running a rental business is a lot of work. But if you're a passive partner in that deal, let's say you put in $100,000 and all of the income that's coming out of that is being generated through rents, then that's considered passive income. You have unlimited depreciation that can offset that passive income. Now, it's not going to offset your W-2 income like we talked about before, but it can be very, very effective in offsetting the income that you're getting off from the investment itself, especially in the first couple of years when the property may not be stabilized yet and the cash flow may still be somewhat low. You want to be able to say, hey, well, we're not really making a whole lot of money on this, but you're able to take that depreciation pretty early on, and that can save a lot of money. And if you can't use it all, it carries forward indefinitely. So the cost segregation study is really important to be able to have an accurate depreciation schedule for everything that's in that property, and so that it can offset the passive income that's going to be coming through that property over the duration of the investment. So we make heavy use of cost segregation studies. Every commercial property that we have has one. And then on my single family portfolio, we'll usually have one analysis. He can do multiple properties in one. It's important that you don't get cost segregation studies if you cannot use the deduction. So if it's offsetting more than your passive income, and it's just not useful. So a lot of times cost segregation experts will not really talk to you about your personal tax situation if it would be beneficial to you. That's why it's important to have a tax strategist. We've had some friends who did cost segregation studies on their portfolio and ended up just kind of being a waste of money because they couldn't use those savings because they already had depreciation offsetting all their passive income, and they were maxed out on how much of their active income could be offset, which is up to $12,500 per year. But if you make over, I think it's $100,000 to $120,000, that phases out to nothing. And so for high income individuals, they can't take any depreciation against their active income. So it's really important that these kind of details and these nuances apply to some people, but they don't apply to everybody. So having a professional is really, really important. And what we're experiencing right now is we're about to sell an apartment building. It's supposed to close tomorrow, Monday, Tuesday, something like that. And so we're having a large capital gain that is coming out of that. And so because it's so close to the end of the year, we had to identify something that we could purchase that had depreciation, because we're losing the depreciation on the apartment building that we're selling. And so we need to be able to replace that depreciation. Otherwise, we will pay, we could pay capital gains taxes. In our particular situation, because I'm a real estate professional and we have a lot of depreciation from previous years that's been carrying forward, it's unclear if we would pay any capital gains, even if we do nothing, like we just spent the money, or put it into some sort of a business that's generating active income rather than passive income. But just to be on the safe side, we've chosen to purchase a property that has depreciation. The 1031 exchange is something you may have heard a lot about over the years. And the way that we set up our partnerships do not allow a 1031 exchange out of it. You have to buy the new property in the same entity that you sold the previous property in. And so if you own an LLC with some partners and then you want to take that capital and you want to go invest it in something else without those same partners in a different LLC, it's not eligible for a 1031 exchange. And so we can't 1031 exchange this particular money, which means that we only have till the end of the calendar year to get that capital placed. If it was a 1031 exchange, I could say, hey, let's go ahead and carry this over January. It's a little bit more of a headache from an admin standpoint. It might be a little bit more expensive for your custodian to hold that money for you, but it's not that big of a deal. And it's a way to buy you time at the end of the year if the investment that you're selling is qualified to do a 1031 exchange. In our case, this one's not. So we're kind of in a rush to get it done by the end of the year so that we can close on the property in the next couple of days. And then we already have the other one lined up that we'll be closing on as soon as possible after that, before the end of the year. And that's how we're going to maintain depreciation on the new property that we get 100% bonus depreciation on, and it's a brand new property, new construction, will depreciate more than old stuff that's nearing the end of its useful life. So these are some of the strategies we have: is focus on new construction when we need more depreciation, focus on getting the purchase of the new asset in the same calendar year as the sale of the old asset. It's like a backdoor 1031 exchange. It's not a technical one, but basically you're replacing one property, the depreciation with depreciation of another property. And then because of our depreciation that we've been carrying forward all these years, we'll probably not put the rest of the capital into properties. We'll probably go ahead and invest that in something that has active income attached to it. So like stock market stuff, the private lending that we do at Retoro. So giving private loans to other investors. That interest income is considered active income. And so because we're not too worried about maximizing all of it, the depreciation we're losing from the apartment building, we will, on some investments that have cash flow that don't really have a tax advantage for us personally. But because we get our tax advantages from being a real estate professional, that means we can be a little bit more loose about not having to maximize taxes on our cash flow strategies, because normally stuff that cash flows doesn't really have as much or any depreciation. So those are some of the things that we are doing at the end of the year. And it's one of those things where you kind of have to think about the strategy of why you're doing any of this, right? It's for your family, so you can spend less time working at a job, but you don't want to be spending more time working in the business, is spending more time together, and having to balance all of that can be really tricky. And so one of the things that we wanted to address tonight was choosing what to do with the money that you're saving on taxes. How are you going to deploy that, whether it's in a business, like I said, that you're providing jobs, you're maybe providing housing like what we do, and a way to feel like you're giving back in ways that are outside of just pure philanthropy. So we do donate a large portion of our income to a humanitarian group that we've done for our entire lives. And we also volunteer for the group on occasion, not just donating money, but also donating time. And so we like to identify 1 or 2 organizations that we really want to give to lavishly, so to speak, because we understand that not all organizations are using the money responsibly. And this is a lesson I learned kind of the hard way. A few years ago as an adult, it came out that my childhood pastor had been running a charity scam for decades. And I didn't know it at the time. I was a teenager and wasn't really paying attention. But it was in the news and about how the funds were being misappropriated from going to the causes that they were supposed to be going to. And they were donating enough that they got some photographs and press ops and things like that. But most of the money was going to the family to live a luxury lifestyle. And that hit me pretty hard, and up to the level of responsibility that I have to make sure that the organizations that I choose to support are using the money in the way that they say that they're going to, that it's intended to be used, and do my own due diligence. And so that narrows the organizations that I feel comfortable giving to. Because I want to give, I want to help people, but I want to make sure that it's being used appropriately. So one of the ways that you're going to vet that is just ask for the financials, educate yourself on what a registered nonprofit, the financials that they're supposed to be giving out, making sure that they're legitimate organization, and reviewing those financials. Again, it's not just your job. Your tax professional can help you, because giving money to an organization is a charitable deduction, and that definitely will affects your taxes. So your tax professional can be a guide to you if they specialize in this type of stuff. So just make sure that you're involving the team so you can do your due diligence on the organizations that you're donating to. And again, limiting maybe how many you're donating to so that you can give more to the ones that you vetted out. So you're not nickel and diming to random ones that you don't really know that much about. Occasionally we will give here and there as we feel led to do. For the most part, we try and stick with the ones that we've vetted out. So making sure that the organizations align with your personal values, and that you're using your stewardship over the money that you have been saved on your taxes is going towards a cause that you really want to support through the charitable giving aspect of it, but also in the bigger picture that you're running a business that supports impact, and that you are living a life socially with your family and your community in a way that is giving a blessing to your family and to your community, that your time is available, that your money is available, so that you can help to improve lives all around you. So it can take many, many forms. And so we wanted Troy also to be able to start going into some of the systems that you can adopt. He's our systems guy, our IT guy. And so just talking about building a year-end plan and how to track, because like what Harmony was talking about with consistency, one of the things that keeps you consistent is keeping track of things and making sure that you're living in accordance with your values. So take it away, Troy.
Thanks, Emma. Yeah, there's a couple of different things that you need to consider when you're considering donating. And there's things that you can do to also kind of improve your reliability in donating from year to year. And one of those is making sure that you go ahead and plan ahead of time, at least 90 days ahead of time before you start getting to this time of the year. You'll want to start making those goals in about October and identifying where you want to actually invest. Like Emma had said, vetting out the various charities that you plan on investing into and well, donating to rather. And you're going to want to understand how those people are helping them, and then start creating different social media platforms. Is if you're doing this through your business, you want to make sure that you're planning your social media, your emails, who you're reaching out to be able to send those out in November. And then once you start getting into December, you're going to want to start focusing on actually deploying those assets and getting them to where they need to go, and making sure that you understand what those needs are and how soon you need to plan on donating to those various organizations, because some of them have restrictions on when they can receive funds and how much they can actually receive. So you want to make sure that you're planning that out ahead of time. And if you're already in the process of doing this, a lot of times it's also imperative that you create some ongoing reminders, like setting calendar reminders that reoccur yearly and in those times, so that you don't forget to donate it. Because I know myself, I've been scrambling at the end of the year, realizing that I hadn't actually sent out my donations yet. And so I'm trying to get them out as quickly as I can before the end of the year, so I can not only get it to the people that need it, but also to take advantage of the deductions and the tax advantage of sending out those donations. Chris had talked about the DAFs, and also you can actually give stock. You don't actually have to cash out stock and take that capital gain hit and send that money to a donation. You can actually donate your stock directly to the organization, and that helps you to avoid taking a tax hit on the stock itself. And like Chris had mentioned as well, as those DAFs are also a great opportunity to be able to schedule the donations in. But not only that, when you're donating through a DAF, it gives you one tax document that you can use for filing, rather than trying to track down multiple tax documents at the end of the year or the next year, to make sure that your donations all got where they needed to go to, and you had all the documentations accordingly. So a simple way of keeping track of these is just as simple as creating a spreadsheet. And it's important that you put where you're donating, how much you're donating, and all that information in like a spreadsheet or a database that you can to help you just keep track of that stuff in general. Because when your tax year, or when you're starting to try and remember where you actually send all your donations, it's really important to know where all those went. So Zash is going to talk a little bit more about how you can build that, not only build a tax year plan, but also that how, as an owner, that you can save taxes. So take it away, Zash. Please.
Thank you, Troy. I think there is a lot of value in knowing the tactical ways, and also I really like how Emma brought up vetting who you're giving to, not just giving blindly, because like any business, right? Charities are also a business, so you want to make sure to vet to the people that are organizing it or running it or in charge, and try your best to, even though you're giving with a good purpose, I think just knowing what you're giving your money towards is something else to be mindful of as well. And it could be in any kind of facet of your life, even if you are, like you mentioned, faith-based, giving back to your church, giving back in your community, all those real ways you can give back throughout the year, and not only just at the end. But with that, I know a lot of us are doing tax planning. We're talking to our CPAs and bookkeepers and making sure that we're taking advantage of some of these year-end taxes. So what I wanted to touch on as well, just in general, if you are a business owner, just to give you some quick tips on different things that you can do on top of giving back is, and one other way is hire your kids. You can give back to your kids, or you can start a family payroll. That's one strategy where you can pay your children for real work, or like for us as real estate investors, a lot of times we take our kids to meetups, we take them to project sites. Maybe they have to take notes or video or be in the marketing itself. So that's one way that you can write that off for the year end as well. There's other opportunities that you can for your kids: create a Roth IRA, do a savings. And this giving strategy keeps the money kind of inside of your home, and while also helping them to try to get ahead. Another one to bring up and these are all strategies that I'm utilizing towards the end of the year too, just looking at, okay, even as a small business owner, how can we make most use of even our home, right? So there is the Augusta rule, where you can rent your home to your business for up to 14 days out of the year, and that gets a deduction. Now, there's also different stipulations if you use a portion of your home already for an office. Again, like Chris mentioned, we're not licensed CPAs or anything like that, but we are just giving you real life experiences that we're doing right now and things that we're implementing before the end of the year. So you actually have to have some real business things going on, like maybe investor meetings or filming content, or doing some trainings at your house, or company get-togethers. So those are some ways where you can rent your home to your business. Another way, when used correctly, right? 100% bonus depreciation came back, and people are loving this, especially for this strategy, which if you need a vehicle for your whatever business you're doing. For example, we also have a plumbing business and construction business where we need vehicles in order for to go to the job sites. So that's one way where we're getting that vehicle deduction. And then now there's bonus depreciation on top of that, different stipulations, like if you buy vehicles over 6,000 pounds, and for certain, there are bigger vehicles you can buy as well. However, it has to relate to the business that you're doing and be a legitimate vehicle use. And like I said before, even if you don't necessarily rent your house to your business, you could have a home office. And I think this is one of the strategies, or one of the write-offs that I used in the beginning, that I didn't know. That was my first step into learning more about how to write things off, even if I didn't own my own business and I was using it to start my own business. There are stipulations for that as well. So having a legitimate home office deduction, it doesn't require being a full-time investor. But again, you have to track, your receipts. You have to track your time spent and square footage of the area that you're using. And truly, it has to be used for that specific purpose. So even in this room, this is a bedroom in my house, but it's fully used as an office. So with that, these are not loopholes or, secrets that any CPA doesn't know, but they are tools. And these are some things that you might want to bring up with your CPA or bookkeeper to see if it's relevant for your business. And that can help you create some margin, support your family, and even help you with, giving back as well. So I encourage you guys, and thank you to all the partners on here as well, to make more room to donate in your budget, invest in these cash flowing opportunities, and that in turn will give you more room to live your life with purpose. So with that, I'm going to have Emma kind of close us out.
Yeah, so reminder, year-end deadlines, that the week between Christmas and New Year's is usually terribly, terribly slow because everybody's either out of the office or they're completely out. So closing on a property between Christmas and New Year's is always very stressful. So like Troy said, just make sure that you're planning ahead to identify a property. Like we didn't just suddenly fall into a property in December, right? We've been looking for a property the last couple of months with this other one under contract, trying to identify. The other thing that we want to encourage is to take care of the paperwork that you need, communicating, especially if you're a passive investor and you're waiting for K1s, communicate with the sponsor who's generating those K1s, that those are going to be done in a timely fashion. Just make sure that you understand when those might be out. And if you have a lot of K1s, just extend. Like, just do not try to get your taxes done in April, because there are years where we'll have 9 out of 10 of our K1s and 1 K1 is late and we can't file. And there have been a few years where that K1 never showed up. And so we're just having to do our best to estimate from previous years. And so it's one of those things where if you are running a K1 business or a K1 portfolio, like, just plan on extending every single year. We have a standing order with our CPA just to always file that extension, because we're always waiting for a K1 from somewhere. Hopefully it's not from us, right? But things happen. I mean, just be prepared for that when tax time comes. And then we want to be making sure that we're here giving you good information and good education, that you're having good professional support, and our education being informal. But it's like, we want to invest with people who share these values with us, who want good communication. You want strong paperwork and people who know how to run a business, but you also want people who share your values. Like, we're giving back. We want to enable you to be able to give back. And one of the reasons that we're doing this from like a dual approach, on the one hand, donating time, donating money. Chris and Harmony have started several nonprofit organizations. And also, we're over here on the other side, like minting millionaires, so to speak. Like, we want to empower you to go find causes that you believe in, because we're not only donating time and money on the front lines ourselves, but we want to enable you to go donate time and money on the front lines yourself, or pass the education along, because it's like the wave that goes out and that tide that lifts all boats. And so we want to invest with people who share the values of wanting to build wealth in order to give back, in order to be able to make their families and their communities and across the world a better place. And that's our vision and our journey that we're taking with you. So if that describes you at all, we would love to hear from you to see if our investments that support housing and various other types of things in the business realm could also support your philanthropic and volunteering, so you have more time to donate. That's definitely something that we want to be talking to you about. So just go to partnerwithrci.com. RCI means Retoro Capital Investments. Partnerwithrci.com. That's our calendar link. You jump on there and it will put you into a call with one of us. If there's a particular one of us that you would like to talk to, just do partnerwithrci.com/whatever the name is, Emma /Sasha/Troy/Chris/Harmony. And Harmony spelled with an IE at the end, just so you know, as /Lisa. So depending on who you've connected with, or if there's a particular thing that you want to talk to about in our specialty, feel free to use that calendar directly to any of us. So thank you so much for coming tonight. I appreciate you taking some time out of your Christmas with us. And I appreciate the comments as well, because it's nice to see that you're finding value in the information. And we put these out here to educate you, not to give you advice, but to just give you the questions that you should be asking your professionals, the questions you should be asking the people that you're investing with. And we really do appreciate your time and wish you a very happy holiday.